What's up, guys? Alex Scott here with Consordini.com. I've got another super cool gear review for you guys today. This time it is about this beauty right here. This is the SIRE V7 Marcus Miller Signature Jazz Bass. 4-string, an alder body, and a nice tobacco sunburst finish. SIRE is a really, really cool company. I really, really dig what these guys are doing. They partnered with Marcus Miller a couple of years ago to start bringing these basses to market under the whole kind of idea or concept that all musicians should have a quality instrument, no matter how advanced or beginner, kind of basic they are. Everybody should have a good instrument, and they should be able to get that good instrument at a really affordable price, okay? And that's exactly what they've done by bringing this bass to market. The manufacturers are based in Indonesia, but they are all real luthiers. They're not just some cookie cutter company making a million guitars for a million different manufacturers. These guys are real musicians who really care about how their instruments feel and sound and play, and I gotta tell you, they have just a screaming bass here. This thing is awesome. I use it all the time in a professional context. I'm here in my home studio. I record with this bass all the time. I gig with this bass. I've toured with this bass extensively. This particular one I've had for the last couple of years, and I gotta tell you, I love it. I absolutely love this thing. Not only does it play really, really well, it sets up really easily. You can also get all of the classic jazz bass tones and even some slick modern jazz bass tones out of it as well. So I'm just gonna real quick kind of go through the features, play it a little bit for you guys in a few different styles, and give you guys an idea of how it sounds and what all it can do. So, one of my favorite features about this bass are the electronics. It's got a really advanced electronic setup in it, kind of pickup configuration, and more importantly, the EQ and stuff that it has on board is really cool. So it is an active bass. It's actually an 18-volt active, so there's 2 battery slots on the back that you guys will be able to put your 9-volt batteries in and deliver a full 18 volts to that preamp. So that means that you're going to be able to push a little bit more sound than even a typical active bass, which usually is just a 9-volt circuit. It only uses 1 9-volt battery. This one actually takes 2, so you've got a little bit extra horsepower under the hood. Now, starting from down here, we have bass, a mid knob, which actually is a stack knob, and there is a mid frequency select, which is really, really handy. If you're a gigging bass player and you find yourself in a difficult room where maybe your bass sounds a little bit muddy or a little bit thin, something like that, this mid frequency sweep can really help you to dial in your tone a little bit more precisely and get some great sounds going on. Then we have treble, and then of course our pickup blend knob, which goes from bridge, blending all the way into neck. And then, this is actually one of my favorite features on the bass, we have a volume knob and this active or passive tone knob. It works in both modes. So we have the active-passive switch right here. No matter which mode you're in, active or passive, this tone knob still works like it would work as you would expect on a traditional jazz bass, vintage jazz bass. So even if you're using the active tone features, you know, boosting and cutting bass, treble, mids, all that stuff, you can still use this tone knob just like you would on a traditional jazz bass, which is really, really cool. Any players out there will tell you that rolling off a treble knob on an active bass is not the same thing as rolling off a tone knob on a passive bass. So the fact that they've included this more traditional style tone knob on the instrument that can be used even when the bass is in active mode, it's just really, really cool. It really lets you get some nice kind of blended tones with a vintage vibe to them, but they also have that extra little bit of punch and girth that you get from the active pickups. So let's go ahead and listen to a couple of tones. Right now I have the bass in active mode, wide open, nothing being boosted, nothing being cut. Just for you guys' reference, I have the bass going into an Audient ASP 800. It's an extremely clean preamp, so there's no, compression, limiting, no EQ, anything on this bass right now. It's just going direct in to a really clean preamp, so you guys are going to be hearing exactly the same sound that comes out of the bass normally. So again, bass wide open. just that, classic jazz bass sound with just a little bit of an active edge to it. So let's start fiddling some knobs here. We boost our bass a little bit. Well, boost the bass knob, I should say. And then we give it a little bit of extra treble bite. We get a really slick, modern jazz bass tone. Very Marcus Miller kind of a tone. You can get, again, really growly slap tones. Just killer. It almost gives it this air of like natural compression. It's got a ton of really nice brightness. I do have stainless steel strings on this bass right now, just so you guys know. So it is, those really bring out that top end to it as well. So that's just one of the tones that we can get. If we put the bass wide open and put it into passive mode, you'll notice it's a little bit quieter, because again, passive pickups, they don't have that active preamp circuit in there, but it sounds like a classic jazz bass. That sound that we all know and love from so many great records, so many great bass players throughout history, you've got that tone here as well. So now, let's say you're maybe in like a reggae band or hard rock band. You want a really, kind of low-end, heavy, classic sound. Now we're rolled all the way to the neck pickup. Again, really classic jazz bass tone. That's in passive. Bring it back into active. Boost that low end a little bit. Growly as all get out, just thick. Almost starts to sound a little bit like a P bass. So now my other favorite tone that I absolutely love in this thing, and I'm keeping this in active mode right now, is to use our pickup blend to go all the way to our bridge, and then use this passive tone knob that again still works when the bass is in active mode. Roll that tone knob all the way off and you get that classic Jocko. That really, really classic, old school, kind of nasally, burpy, funk fusion sound. If you're a fan of, like, again, Jocko, Rocco Prestia, anybody like that. Just killing tone, and then you can, for even more of an old school sound with that, you can put it back into passive mode, and then you're basically just using, again, that classic 70s jazz bass circuit. Responds exactly how you think it would. Now, the last thing that I want to point out is this mid switch. So I'm going to put it back into active mode, and again, the bass is totally passive right now, so we can boost our mids all the way just for the sake of hearing it. And you can hear that parametric mid sculpting. Right? So you can really dial in your mids, which is, a lot of the tone of the bass lives in that kind of, 100 hertz, 150 hertz up to 400, 500, 600 hertz. That's where our fundamental notes are. and even down a little bit lower than that. If you go down, on your E string, you're down towards under 100 hertz. But more importantly, the harmonic overtones of the instrument that really give it its timbre all live within kind of the tweakability range of this mid knob. So again, if you're ever in a situation where you're finding your bass to sound a little bit muddy, a little bit thin, it's not really cooperating with the room that you're in, this parametric mid is invaluable to be able to really dial that tone in and just get your bass sounding exactly how you want. So that is a quick overview of the SIRE V7 Marcus Miller Signature Jazz Bass. I absolutely adore this bass. I use it constantly. I really do. It's one of my main axes. And like I said at the beginning of the video, their goal was to make this an affordable instrument. So I actually paid just $3.99 for this bass shipped. And it came with a really nice gig bag that actually had hard-sided inserts in it, kind of like a mono bag. Definitely a bag that punches well above its weight on its own. You would pay 50, 75, even $100 for the bag, and it just ships with the bass for free. It's got a really nice neck support in there, velvet-lined interior. It's a fabulous case. So for just $400, and then they have some nicer models that feature an ash body, maple fretboard that get up more to the $500 or $600 mark. And even then, you're still getting just this fabulous quality instrument for a really, really incredible price. So anytime I'm teaching or doing anything else for that matter, I always tell my students, if you're looking for a great, really affordable bass that you can use both as a total beginner and then will suit you all the way up until you're a gigging full-time professional, reach for a SIRE. They're just fabulous, fabulous instruments. So thanks again, you guys, very much. My name's Alex Scott with Consordini.com. We appreciate you guys watching the video. What do you guys think of the SIRE Marcus Miller Jazz Bass? Do you own one? Do you want to own one? Have you played one? We would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below, so give us a shout. Thanks again so much for watching the video, and we will see you in the next one.